Shelia wasn't spoiled her whole life at all. Until they moved to Motown, Shelia was a very, very, very poor girl with a very small house to live in with all hand-me-down clothes. When Sheila's mom got with her new husband Jim, then they had money. Lots of money. He bought them the best of everything. She went to a new school and wanted to be the cool new girl. I never ever saw her act like a bitch, but she knew better around me. I knew what she came from. Shelia got a lawyer at the beginning of all this, and she lied to him too until Rachel made a confession, and then Shelia had to make one too. The lawyer interviewed Sheila's mom to see if she needed a separate lawyer, if her mom knew anything beforehand, and she did not. She was clueless as well. Shania has always been an attention whore and gossiper. She just likes to hear herself talk. Plus she always bitched about how annoying Skylar was and how she didn't like having her around. Skylar and Shania didn't like each other. But Lord knew when Skylar went missing they were all of a sudden best friends. She wants everyone to feel bad for her and no one does. Shania and Skylar both talked shit on each other, but played besties when they were together. I honestly can't say what Shania did or didn't know. Or where she was. I wasn't too big of a Shania fan myself. Shania had a problem keeping her mouth shut though. I feel like she almost would have bragged about something like that. Shelia didn't seem like she liked Shania either, but who knows with Shelia now that we know she's a killer. Shania wants the pity. She wants to constantly be a victim. When I saw her on the news at Skylar's memorial I wanted to fucking vomit. She's a terrible individual in my opinion, but if she is innocent oh well, because she kind of had it coming. At first I thought people just wanted someone to blame. I told them they were ruining these girls' lives just because they were blame hungry. Or so I thought. So those texts from me saying, "Mary is a psycho who needs heavy meds and a fist to the face" was when Shelia still had me fooled. Now I don't blame her for a word of it, but my family and I thought that was harassment of a minor at the time. Just didn't seem right to say those things. Plus she had gone to see a psychic that told her it was the girls the whole time and the tarot cards pointed north to plowed fields. Pennsylvania. Crazy, right? Shelia was weird, but never seemed that weird to me. I guess I just thought she was just being a teenager. I saw shit like hit them with a bus and punch them in the face all the time. But I could never ever hurt anyone for any reason. I seriously cried for 3 days over a cat. Haha. I just get angry and that's my way to feel better. Instead of taking it out on people, I just become vocal. And I thought Shelia did the same. She never really talked to me about failing the lie detector, and I was always afraid to ask out of fear that she would tell me and then I would have to rat out my family member. Lie detectors can't be used in court. That's why Shelia took one. She knew they couldn't get her off of that test, and I think she did it thinking they would leave her alone. Even though she failed. That, and her mom wanted her to take one. I think her mom was afraid of her lying and wanted it as proof for herself too. To know she was or wasn't lying. She never really talked to me about failing, and I was always afraid to ask out of fear that she would tell me and then I would have to rat out my family member for knowing. But once Shelia took one and they knew she was lying, they moved on to Rachel. They wanted to break her. They knew she was weak-minded and they squeezed her for everything they could. Until she finally broke and told everything. Sheila's mom took her to Cracker Barrel so that she wouldn't be arrested at their house where all of the neighbors could see. And it was kind of like Sheila's last dinner, I guess. The lawyer gave Sheila's mom a heads up, and they wanted to avoid harassment from the neighbors. So Sheila's mom was in on it and knew Shelia was going to be arrested at Cracker Barrel. Sheila's mom and Shelia saw the cops pull in, and Sheila's mom just walked her out to them. Okay, so when the FBI questioned me, they pretty much didn't ask me anything about Rachel or Shelia. Just what I had known of them and stuff, which I'd only met Rachel one time, And the one time I had met her I had told Sheila that she was completely fucking weird. Rachel was the weirdest girl I had ever met ever. She just said weird off the wall shit. Talked about licking people's eyeballs and stuff. She was just way out there. I just didn't like her at all. I told Sheila not to bring her around anymore. But anyways. So when the FBI had questioned me they really didn't ask me anything weird about where was Sheila, what was Sheila doing. They only asked me about Kevin and Dylan. They asked me why we had a falling out. Why we didn't speak anymore. Why Sheila had quit talking to him. If I thought Kevin and Dylan were capable of murder. If I thought they were criminals and shit like that. I mean they really must not have had any idea at the time that Sheila and Rachel had anything to do with it and it just seemed like there was no way they even questioned if Sheila and Rachel were involved in the whole thing. So that almost to me seemed like justification that they weren't involved because the FBI just seemed like they weren't interested in them. They weren't interested in knowing where Shania was or anything like that, but it was funny to me, they did tell me they had sources that told them that I had seen Skylar that night. And I was in complete shock. They had to have seen it on my face. I was just like me. They said I was involved. They said yay and I said absolutely not. I would never in my life even dream of that. I had actually been at a party with my friend, completely not even close to where they were. And I was in Morgantown while they would have been out here, which is weird since I lived out here and they lived in Morgantown. But anyway, so beyond that, the FBI questioned me that one time and they thanked me for my honesty and they even went on to tell me what kind of pieces of shit they believed that Kevin and Dylan were. How they wanted to get them. They wanted them so bad they wanted to get them for everything. The FBI told me they said it feels like they are looking at us smiling because we can't catch them. I mean, it just seemed like they were so hell-bent on these boys. That was it, that's all I believed. It was those boys. And Dylan was not ever in his life a good kid. He fucked a lot of people over and a lot of people hated him before Skylar's disappearance. But it just seemed to make sense that he could have been involved considering that he did talk to Skylar and did sneak out with them. Not saying he could be a killer, but he hung out with people that I can imagine would do something that awful. I can give you a quote that I'll never forget. Sheila told me I wish I had any way to prove it was Dylan and Kevin so this could all just be over then. It was probably about, I'd say, maybe a month or two later. The FBI agent got a hold of me, and he said, "Is there any way you can meet with me tomorrow?" I said absolutely, where and when. Went and met with him. He handed me grand jury papers and said, "You're coming to grand jury court." He said, "I don't want you to be worried, it has nothing to do with you, you're not in trouble in any way," he said, "we just want what you know to be on record. That's all we want." So of course I went and it was in front of a questioner, witnesses and a jury of 26 people I do believe, and they again did not ask me any questions about Sheila and Rachel. None. They asked me only questions on what I knew about Dylan and Kevin. What kinds of drugs they sold, where they sold them, who they sold them to, if they went out to Dip and Hole Road, which is actually really close to where they found Skylar. And it even made it sound that much more like it was them to me because those boys had gone to Dip and Hole Road just to smoke and stuff like that, but those boys had sold heroin, those boys had sold acid, those boys had sold ecstasy, those boys sold everything you could fucking think of under the sun. Those boys have done any drug and every drug, it's just unbelievable. But anyways, and they questioned me on them. And then when I left, the FBI asked me if they could question me again. It was only like a 5-minute thing. They just pretty much were like, "Has Dylan ever sold weed or anything online, ever Facebook?" Which before this all came about, they would post pictures of their weed and say, "If anybody wants any, here's what it looks like, here's what it is, here's how much it is." blah blah blah, and so I told them that, and they asked me for my Facebook information, my password and everything. And I told them absolutely. They could have it. It was all theirs. You know, whatever they want to look at. I don't have anything to worry about, so I just gave it to them. And the reason we had a falling out was because I had gotten a hold of Kevin Willard. This was, let's see, this happened 2012, so it would have been January 2012. Yeah, I had gotten a hold of Kevin to buy some weed off of him. Okay. He had told me, meet me here, blah blah blah, whatever, no big deal. So I go and meet him, and he said not to say anything, that his cousin was in the car who didn't approve of him selling. So I didn't say a word. He just handed me this case and said, here you go, and sped the fuck off. Well, I got it in the car, looked at it, and it was fucking oregano. Okay, so of course I was freaking out. I was fucking livid. And when the FBI asked me, they said, why did you have a falling out? I had to say this in front of grand jury court too. I said, well, he sold me a bag of oregano. There you go. That's why we had a falling out. I told him I would never deal with him again, and if I did, I was going to punch them both in the face. Which really wouldn't happen. I just wanted to scare them so they wouldn't try to fuck with me anymore, and Kevin Willard is a piece of shit, but anyways, who cares? So and I even told the FBI that, and they asked me what I did with the oregano, and I even told the FBI, oh, I still have the oregano. I said, because one way or another, I said, if it goes down his throat or up his ass, he will eat it one way or the other. So they just kind of laughed and went on. And after the grand jury court, they never ever bothered me again. And they did ask me, though. When they saw me, they said, did you tell Sheila that you were asked to come to grand jury court? And I said, yeah, I did. He said, even after I asked you not to tell her that? I said, yeah, I did, and I am sorry, but I did. But I said, you know, I just want to give her fair warning. As a XX-year-old, I'm scared. I said, as a 16 to 17-year-old, I can't imagine how terrified they would be being interviewed by the FBI. You know, it's just a scary thing. You know, whatever, that all happened. La-dee-da-dee-da. Well, time went on, and it was actually, oh no, this was right when I stopped talking to Sheila, was the day of my grand jury court hearing. I called Sheila's mom, and she said, I know I shouldn't say this over the phone because they knew they were being phone tapped. She said, but Sheila told the lawyer that she was in Brave that night, which is the area that Skylar was found. And she wasn't found at this point though, but she said that Sheila admitted they were in Brave that night, that they had picked up Skylar and they went out to Brave. And right then, when Sheila changed her story, that was when I totally dropped it. I completely dropped it because I knew then if Sheila changed her story once, it was going to change again, and it was gonna change again, and again and again. And guess what? It kept changing. Sheila's original story was that they had snuck out at about 10 o'clock that night. The original story was that she wasn't with Skylar at midnight. That Sheila had picked Skylar up at around 10 o'clock or so, and they drove around Morgantown, smoked dope, stopped to see someone, didn't say who, didn't tell me who, I didn't really ever ask. Then they dropped her off around 12, and they swore Skylar had left with someone else at 12:30 and didn't let them know who it was. So that was the original story. Then when she told me that they were out at Brave that night, this was when I knew she was changing her story, and I was really afraid to ask anymore, because I was afraid that she would tell me, because she always trusted me, you know, with little shit, nothing really important like that. But I was always one that, you know, if you tell me, I won't say a word, blah blah blah. But I had made it a point to let her know that whoever did this to Skylar was sick, and they needed to go to fucking jail, and they needed to die, and who would do this to such an innocent girl, you know. And Sheila agreed with me that she couldn't believe that someone would want to do this to Skylar. Skylar was such a good person, and she missed her best friend so much, and she was scared to think that someone could disappear and no one would know. And that's what I told her. I said it's just so scary to me that someone can just disappear and you never would know, no one would ever find you. You would just be gone. That's just terrifying to me. And when they started blaming the boys, that really made sense that they would be out that way, and the car. He had a car, a small car that kind of resembled Sheila's. It was like a 10, I don't know if it was a Toyota or what it was, but they had said it was a small car, so you know that almost made sense too, because on the video they could see this car, but they couldn't see what kind. They couldn't see a license plate, so they had to have the FBI digitally enhance it. When they did digitally enhance it, they let us know the car did match Sheila's and that it was Sheila's, and that they were leaving Skylar's house at 12:30 and not 10 o'clock like Shelia had said, so that really threw me off too, and that was another thing that let me know I didn't really want to know any more about it, so I just kind of played dumb with her the whole time and acted like I didn't know anything or wasn't suspicious of her anymore. So this was, let's say, probably January, February time, right about the time that Rachel had made her confession. Which we didn't really know what her confession was, we just know she had come out and said something that probably wasn't good. After Rachel did her confession, the lawyer called Shelia and her mom into the office and said Rachel gave up everything, so if you want to save your ass, you're going to have to tell me everything you know. So Shelia went in and did a private confession just between her and the lawyer, and then the lawyer had Sheila's mom come in and tell the lawyer everything Sheila's mom knew, and that was only to see if Sheila's mom actually knew anything from Shelia, so the lawyer could see if Sheila's mom needed to get a separate lawyer to save her own butt, because that would make her, you know, an accessory to murder or whatever, blah blah blah. So she told him everything she knew to him, and the lawyer told her she didn't need a separate one, and that all he was going to do, this was how Sheila's mom knew Shelia was involved. All the lawyer said was, I'm going to try and get your daughter out of life in prison. I'm gonna try and save her from life in prison. That's all he told her. He couldn't tell her what Shelia knew, but I do believe at some point after that, Shelia had told her mom what she said to the lawyer, because I'm sure her mom was just harassing the fuck out of her to know. Who wouldn't be? I was told just a few days before Shelia was arrested, just because, you know, the whole time I had been trying to save her ass, had been trying to keep the FBI from harassing her, you know, and shit like that. I really just been behind her every step of the way, thinking she was innocent. So I was given a heads up for the media and shit like that, just in case they were going to harass me for an interview. The counting to 3 thing, I really don't know for sure that they counted to 3, but I do know for a fact that both girls were involved. Both girls did the stabbing. I don't know if there were 2 knives or 1 knife, I'm not really sure on that, but I do know that both girls participated. I know that the FBI was really interested that Rachel had a scar on her inner thigh that she had never had before. That was why they were so intrigued by her, because they had noticed her scar and they think Skylar had taken the knife or knives and tried to defend herself at some point, or while they were stabbing they just, you know, they kind of fucked up and accidentally cut themselves. Rachel took the bag of their bloody clothes and knife, or knives, I'm not sure, and dumped it in Cheat Lake the day after. She went with her mom on a boat in Cheat Lake, and I hear her mom helped her. Sheila's mom told me then she sent Rachel went away to church camp. Literally the next day. Some sort of church camp. No shit, right? Like that was going to make her daughter innocent. The letter that Rusty and Patricia Shoaf put out to Mary and Dave Neese apologizing for their daughter was a cover-up to make Patricia look ignorant of the whole situation. But before they left for camp, what Sheila's mom told me was that Rachel took the bag of shit they had, what they cleaned up with, you know, they got all the blood off them, what they cleaned the car with, their clothes, the knife or knives, I don't really know. A bag of stuff. She went on a boat with her mom that morning and dumped it in Cheat Lake. The girls tried to bury the body, couldn't bury it, so they covered it with a bunch of shit. Shelia admitted she went back the next day. I don't know if she went to go move Skylar, or went to go cover her up better, I'm guessing all of the above. Shelia admitted she went back the next day. She said her excuse was so that she could go find Rachel's phone, that Rachel had lost her phone there. Awesome. I do know while this investigation was going on, the girls were really worried the cops catching onto them, so Shelia went by herself once and took Rachel a couple of times but they went back to move it and try to move it better to different spots. So, for all we know that's not even the correct spot that Skylar died in. But Shelia confessed to her lawyer, who demanded to know the story if he was going to represent her, and Shelia's mom eventually found out the details, and has told us. That is how I know. The state police did nothing. I mean, they did nothing. They were pretty much telling everyone there was nothing they could do. Pretty much just saying fuck it, there was nothing they could do. The girls went to parties, even after Rachel's confession. They did everything and anything they wanted to do. The FBI was listening in on every phone call Shelia ever made. I'm sure her and Rachel were stupid enough to talk about it since neither had a car to use, so that was their only way of communicating. I think they tricked Rachel into talking and confessing and couldn't say they tapped them like that. The public wouldn't like it if they knew how much the FBI could do to check in on you. So the FBI knows a lot more than anyone thinks. Rachel was offered a clean slate, full immunity, until PA started fighting for the rights of it. And once Shelia blamed Rachel, it kinda seemed like a tag team thing, I think. They couldn't let a murderer walk scot-free. Especially since I'm pretty sure they said Skylar was stabbed a lot. And we went to go see Shelia and her mom, and my family member said to me, "Don't you dare ask her anything about it, don't you dare talk about it, don't say what do you know, what's new, what's this, what's that." They said don't ask anything about it because you don't want to be involved in this, you don't want to know anything that happened. And I told my dad right then, "You're stupid to think if Shelia ever told me anything, that I wouldn't tell on her right now, that I wouldn't call the cops on her right now, family or not, because whatever she did, whatever she's lying about, I want no part of it, and if she does know what happened to Skylar, then she deserves whatever it is she gets, which I hate to see it. I don't want to watch my family member rot in jail. I mean, I've known her since she was literally born. I would never ever want that for her, but if she did know, which obviously she does, obviously she had, if she didn't do it, she knew, and was there, she saw it, whatever. I still don't know the real story. I don't think we really ever will, just because they lied for 6 months, so how can you really believe two fucking people that lied for that long? And Rachel had gone to Chestnut Ridge, both her mom and her had gone to Chestnut Ridge, before this ever happened. I think when Rachel was 14, her mom and her had gotten into a really big fight. And her mom and her had a fist fight, beat the shit out of each other. Her mom threw all of her shit in the yard, and told Rachel she didn't claim her anymore and all this crazy shit, and Rachel went to Chestnut Ridge. Her mom checked her in, and then I'm pretty sure it was after Rachel got out, lived with her dad for a little bit, while her mom went to Chestnut Ridge. So Shelia had told me from day one that Rachel was kinda a nut job, she was just kind of a weird girl. I just knew she was fucking weird. And it does seem weird to me, more so, that Shelia and Skylar went to UHS and their freshman year it was just them, it just seemed like them, they were just together. Well then, all of a sudden this Rachel girl came in the picture. And nothing was weird until Rachel was there. Nothing was weird. They were friends forever. Shelia and Skylar were friends forever since 8 years old, they were best friends. And you know, Shelia always had the best things to say about Skylar. You know, they were all around good normal little girls. They were just little girls. Just innocent little girls. And then Rachel came into the picture and it was like they started doing drugs. I mean, they had been smoking weed, no big deal, who doesn't anymore, but then they started trying ecstasy, They wanted to do acid. They wanted to do all this crazy shit which I've never done. I would never in my life think to do shit like that. And I told them not to. I always told Sheila and Skylar that they needed to go to college, that they needed to go do whatever they possibly could with their lives. That they needed to be the best fucking people they could because you only have one life, there's only one life, and if you don't do it right, then you fuck it up forever. And obviously that didn't stick too good. It just, I don't know, it all seems so weird to me, and after I found out Sheila did know something of what happened, I just blamed it on Rachel then. I mean, I kind of had to. Because Sheila was my family member. I knew her. Or I thought I did, but I knew her. I know Sheila couldn't do this. I know she couldn't. It had to be Rachel. Had to be Rachel. Rachel's idea. Just shit like that. Just had to. I just couldn't ever. And still can't really fathom the idea that Sheila could do something like that knowing her for that long and no signs at all. There were just no signs that she was crazy. There were no signs that she was, she loved animals, she was just, and usually a killer like that has some weird kind of animal thing. There was just no signs. None whatsoever. And I still don't know. I don't think I'll ever know. But from what I understand, right now, Rachel's blaming Sheila, and Sheila is blaming Rachel. So that's as far as that's gotten, and I'm pretty sure the reason they don't know what to do is because they don't know which one to believe. They are both obviously batshit crazy. But Rachel passed her lie detector test she finally took, so if they are going to believe anyone it's her. Or she's just so crazy she believes her own lies and passed it. They lie about killing someone for 6 to 7 months, they lied. Sheila longer than that. If you can lie about killing someone for that long, there just has to be a mental fucking disorder there. There just has to be. And my family told me just a couple days before it came out, just to give me a little fair warning so that I wouldn't be completely shocked, that Sheila was the one who killed her. Not the boys. Not some strangers. Our Sheila. And even then, I was just completely in shock, just completely in shock. And I just had nothing to say to her. I couldn't talk to her anymore. I didn't know. I didn't. I just couldn't talk to her. You know, I told her I missed her and I wanted to see her, but I really didn't. I couldn't. I don't think I could look at her after that. I just wouldn't know how to. And Sheila's mom has asked me to write Sheila, and she's asked me for my address so Sheila can write me, and I pretty much avoided that question at all costs, because I just don't even know how I would conversate with her. There's just no way to know how to speak to someone that doesn't believe they murdered someone. And how can you even have a conversation with her if she's denying what she did? It's so fucking sick and terrible. It was her best friend. Sheila just acted to me like the FBI couldn't do anything. Like they would never touch her. It amazed me how much she thought she was just free of all of it, even when I thought she was innocent. I just can't see why we are trying to save a murderer from the inevitable. She's going to rot in jail no matter what. I would like to write her. But only to remind her of all of the wonderful times we had together. I really wouldn't know how to speak to her now if she's completely denying what went on. I haven't completely forgotten her or anything like that. I think about her every day. I just can't look at her the same, having known her all those years and never actually knowing who she is or what she was capable of. I just know that it's in my best interest and safety to distance myself from her. I'd give anything to go back to how we were. To have Skylar back. But these things happen, right? People go crazy. There are killers no matter where you go. We just always hope we never know one. About the girls that went to prom with Sheila. Alexis Eddy has completely dropped off the face of the earth. Her friends don't see her much anymore. It just seems like she withdrew herself from everything. She was just as oblivious as I was, or she wouldn't have stood up for Sheila like she did when she was arrested. Alexis told off a lot of people. And a lot of people hate her now. She swore that Sheila was only taken in because she knew Rachel, who she thought was the only one to do it. I really can't see her knowing beforehand. Alexis always seemed like a really good girl to me. Unlike Rachel. As for Raven Lester, she's just a slut. Sheila always made it sound like nothing but another rumor. No big deal. Just people talking shit. So even though the rumors still made it to Mannington, Sheila just played them off, but Raven seemed to gravitate towards the notoriety Sheila had from the murder rumors. It's a small bohink town with really nothing but skanks there, so to Raven it was exciting to be around Sheila for that 1 month they were friends before Sheila got arrested. It amazed me if those people even watched the news. But Alexis would not have thrown herself out there for Sheila knowing what she did. I'm sure she was, like me, standing up to all who pointed fingers, feeling that Sheila was victimized. And I'm sure she convinced that Raven girl of the same thing. If Sheila's mom hadn't informed my mom what was going on, then I never would have seen a flaw in her story. But she lied about it all. Said she was removed from school due to rumors. False. She was removed because she was an endangerment to other students. She said the police searched her home for evidence or drugs. False. They came and removed every knife from her house to compare it to Skylar's wounds. She's honest to God never said a true word to me about this whole situation. I didn't suspect anything until her and her mother had two different stories about what was actually going on with her being taken out of school and what she actually told the FBI. All they've told me is jealousy. I think maybe they were jealous of Skylar's not broken family. I know when Skylar went missing they read her diary and found that Skylar was obsessed with Sheila. Madly in love with her. Maybe Skylar made her feelings vocal to Sheila and she wanted her gone? Maybe she didn't like how much people liked Skylar. Skylar was just a very likable person. Sheila was a bit more withdrawn and shy. There's a lot of theories I have, and I'm not really sure that we'll ever know the truth. Sheila was named after her grandma, the one that went crazy and schizo. They say Rachel told police where that body was, but there was rumor of a body found there before Rachel ever came out with anything. I feel that there's a lot more I still don't know. Shit, I didn't even know my own family member. Her mom and stepdad are the only ones going to see her. They have basically said she's completely in denial. She asked why she can't just be on home confinement. It's almost like she started believing her own lies. She has just completely gone into denial about it ever happening, like she wasn't even there. She's driven herself to the point of no return. Her mind won't even let her accept what she has done. She's so deep in denial she can't get out. Her lawyers are having another psychologist see her before the August 2nd court date. If she is found to be mentally unstable, they are going to try and have her charged as a juvenile, which will only make her serve 3 years and she'll be out at 21. She's already been evaluated once and they said she's batshit crazy. But they want a more in-depth psych evaluation to diagnose her with a mental disorder. But what her defense lawyers want and what is reality are so far apart. I figure her lawyer is asking for every kind of extension possible. They've said she was gonna be charged multiple times now, but they kept looking for something more since they've let it go on this long. If anything, I believe it's going to hurt her. They've now done a lie detector on Rachel and said that she is being 100% honest. It was Sheila's idea all the way. I don't see why they'd believe any part of Sheila's story, and she's a murderer, crazy or not. So why keep it going for so long? I know the Neeses won't quit until she's punished in the most harsh way possible, and who can blame them? So August 2nd is finally it. When they say whether Sheila will be charged as a juvenile or an adult, they will be coming out with all of her charges and finally come out with her name on that date. Finally the media will report it on August 2nd. She's looking at life. Not only does she have first-degree murder, but she has lying to federal agents, conspiracy, kidnapping, withholding information. From what I hear from the family, they are giving her every charge possible, and she is most likely getting life. All sorts of shit is going on, Sheila. I hear Rachel is getting 40 years hands down. I was told it would all be over on the 2nd, but not sure how that would work. Charged and sentenced the same day? Seems unlikely, but a lot is happening on August 2nd. I specifically heard the word trial from her mom, so Sheila is trying to blame Rachel, and vice versa, but since Rachel finally took and passed the lie detector test that she ditched before she confessed, it seems like Sheila won't have a leg to stand on. They are not offering her a deal, and she doesn't have much other choice than to go to trial since she can't get the death penalty. So even though Rachel is telling the truth now and Sheila has nothing to offer, she is going to go down fighting.